35 is the most important financial age nobody talks about. Not 40, not 50. 35. Here is why. At 35, you are old enough to have made real financial decisions, a mortgage, a 401k, a career trajectory, maybe a family, and young enough that every one of those decisions still has time to compound in your favor. Or against you. The math at 35 is still generous. It will not be generous forever. There are 6 numbers that determine which direction you are heading. Not habits, not attitudes, not a mindset. 6 specific, calculable numbers. You either know them or you do not. And if you do not know them, you cannot change them, because you have no way of knowing what needs to change. This video is going to give you all 6. We are going to walk through what each number means, what the benchmark is, and most importantly, what it costs you in real dollars if you are on the wrong side of it at 35. Pause at any point and do the math for yourself. That is the exercise. That is the whole point. Here is the structural reality of your financial life at 35. You have roughly 30 years until a conventional retirement age. That sounds like a long time. But the compounding math works like this. The money you have invested at 35 will roughly double 3 times by 65, assuming a 7% real annual return. The money you invest at 45 doubles twice. The money you invest at 55 doubles once. Every dollar you put to work at 35 is worth $8 at 65. Every dollar you delay until 45 is worth $4. That gap, $4 per dollar delayed, is what makes 35 the decisive decade. Not because the window closes at 36, but because the slope changes, and it keeps changing. And the people who do not know their 6 numbers do not notice the slope until they are already well down it. So, 6 numbers. Let's go. The first number is your net worth. Everything you own minus everything you owe. Write it down right now if you have not recently. Assets, checking, savings, brokerage accounts, retirement accounts, real estate equity, the cash value of anything you could sell, liabilities, mortgage balance, car loans, student loans, credit card debt, personal loans. Subtract the second list from the first. That is your number. Now compare it against the PAW formula, the prodigious accumulator of wealth benchmark from Thomas Stanley's research in the Millionaire next door. The formula is straightforward. Multiply your age by your annual gross income, then divide by 10. At 35, earning $80,000 a year, your PAW target is $280,000. At 35, earning $120,000, it is $420,000. According to the Federal Reserve's most recent survey of consumer finances, the median net worth for Americans aged 35 to 44 is approximately $135,000. The 75th percentile is around $400,000. The top 10% begins above $1.2 million. Median means half of people your age have less. It also means that if you are at the median, you are almost certainly below your PAW target, which means your income is outpacing your accumulation. The gap between your PAW target and your actual net worth is your first number. If it is positive, you are ahead. If it is negative, it tells you exactly how much catching up the next decade needs to do. Do not estimate this. Calculate it. The people who estimate their net worth almost always estimate high. The second number is your savings rate, not your income, not your investment returns. Your savings rate, the percentage of your gross income that you are actually putting to work each month across all accounts combined. 401k contributions including employer match, Roth IRA, brokerage, and any other savings. Most people guess their savings rate at around 15 to 20%. Most people are wrong. When you account for taxes, fixed costs, lifestyle spending, and irregular expenses, the actual savings rate for the median American household is closer to 4 to 6%. The personal savings rate in the United States, as measured by the Bureau of Economic Analysis, has averaged between 3 and 6% for most of the last decade. That is not a retirement. That is a slow drift toward a rude surprise at 60. The research on this is unambiguous. A 15% savings rate from age 35, invested at a 7% real return, produces a retirement portfolio that replaces roughly 70% of pre-retirement income by 65. A 5% savings rate from the same starting point produces a portfolio that replaces approximately 23%. The difference between saving 5% and 15% of your income is the difference between retiring with dignity and working until you cannot. Calculate your actual savings rate for the last 12 months. Divide total dollars saved and invested by total gross income. Multiply by 100. That percentage is your number 2. If it is below 15, this is where your energy goes next. The third number, almost nobody at 35 has ever looked up. Open your 401k or brokerage account right now, find your holdings, and look up the expense ratio on each fund you own. The expense ratio is the annual fee the fund charges, expressed as a percentage of your investment. It is deducted automatically, invisibly, every single day. You will never see a line item for it. You will never receive an invoice. It simply reduces your returns, compounding against you every year for decades. The national average expense ratio for actively managed mutual funds is approximately 0.66%, according to Morningstar's most recent annual fee study. The average expense ratio for index funds is approximately 0.06%. That is a difference of 0.60 percentage points. On a $200,000 portfolio, that costs you roughly $1,200 per year in fees. On a $500,000 portfolio, $3,000 per year. But here is where the math becomes genuinely uncomfortable. Because those fees reduce the base on which your returns compound. The true cost over 20 years at 7% real return is not $1,200 per year. It is more than $85,000 on that $200,000 portfolio. The fee compounds against you the exact same way the return compounds for you. You do not see either happening. But 20 years later, one of them made you wealthy, and the other quietly took a 6-figure check out of your retirement account. Find your blended expense ratio, the weighted average across everything you own. If it is above 0.20%, you have found a lever worth pulling. The fix is often one afternoon of account reorganization. The fourth number is the highest interest rate you are currently paying on consumer debt. Credit cards, car loans, personal loans, any lingering student debt. Find the highest rate. Write it down. Here is why this number matters more than your investment return. The S&P 500 has returned approximately 10% annually over the last 50 years, or roughly 7% after adjusting for inflation. If you are carrying credit card debt at 22% interest, and the Federal Reserve's data shows the average credit card interest rate in 2024 was 21.5%, there is no investment on earth that reliably returns 22% annually. Paying off that debt is a guaranteed 22% return. It is better than any stock, any fund, any asset class available to a retail investor. At 35, consumer debt is not just a financial problem. It is a structural ceiling on everything else in this video. Your savings rate cannot reach 15% while you are servicing high-interest debt. Your net worth cannot grow while the interest compounds against it. The portfolio you are trying to build is being quietly dismantled every month by a debt that costs more than the market returns. Your number 4 is the highest interest rate you carry. If it is above 7%, the approximate real return of a diversified index portfolio eliminating that debt before increasing your investments is almost certainly the highest return financial decision available to you right now. The 5th number is the gap between the insurance coverage you have and the coverage you actually need. This is the number that sits quietly in the background, protecting every other number on this list, and the one most people at 35 have gotten wrong. Start with disability insurance. The Social Security Administration's own data shows that 1 in 4 workers who are 20 years old today will experience a disabling condition before they reach retirement age. The most common cause of home foreclosure in the United States is not job loss or over-leveraging, it is disability. And yet most people with employer-provided health insurance assume they are covered. Short-term disability through an employer typically replaces 60% of income for 90 days. After that, you are on your own unless you have long-term disability coverage either through your employer or privately purchased. Check your policy. Find the number. What percentage of your income does your long-term disability coverage replace? And for how long? If the answer is less than 60% of your gross income until age 65, you have a gap. Then life insurance. If anyone depends on your income, a spouse, children, aging parents, the general benchmark for term life coverage at 35 is 10 to 12 times your annual income. A $90,000 income suggests $900,000 to $1.08 million in coverage. A healthy 35-year-old can get $1 million in 20-year term coverage for roughly $30 to $50 per month. That is the number worth knowing because it is lower than most people expect, and the gap it covers is larger than most people have calculated. Your number 5 is the dollar gap between your current coverage and these benchmarks. It is the only number on this list where the goal is to get it to 0. The 6th number is the one that makes all the others meaningful. It is your FI number, your financial independence number, the specific dollar amount your investment portfolio needs to reach before it can fund your life indefinitely, without you needing to work. The calculation is well established in the financial research literature. The Trinity study, published in 1998 and updated multiple times since, analyzed historical portfolio data going back to 1925 and found that a portfolio withdrawn at a rate of 4% per year has historically survived 30-year retirement periods in over 95% of scenarios across a range of stock and bond allocations. This is the basis for the 4% rule. The math runs like this. Take your estimated annual spending in retirement, not your current spending, but what you actually need to live comfortably. Multiply it by 25. That is your FI number. If you need $60,000 per year in retirement, your FI number is $1.5 million. If you need $80,000, it is $2 million. If you include expected Social Security income, which you can estimate at SSA.gov using your actual earnings history, subtract that annual amount from your spending need before multiplying. Your Social Security benefit reduces the portfolio you need to accumulate. At 35, the most important thing about your FI number is not whether you have reached it. Almost nobody has at 35. It is whether you know it, and whether the trajectory of your current savings rate gets you there by the age you intend to retire. If your savings rate is 15% and your FI number is $2 million, a compound return calculator will tell you exactly how many years away you are. If the answer is 40 years, and you plan to retire at 65, you have a problem that needs solving now, not at 55. The FI number is not a retirement fantasy. It is a mathematical target that either confirms your current trajectory or tells you precisely how much it needs to change. 6 numbers. Let's put them together. Number 1, your net worth versus your PAW target. Are you ahead or behind, and by how much? Number 2, your actual savings rate. What percentage of your gross income went to work last year? Number 3, your blended investment expense ratio. What does it cost you annually to own what you own? Number 4, your highest consumer debt interest rate. Is there a ceiling on your wealth you have not named yet? Number 5, your insurance coverage gap, the dollar shortfall between what you have and what you need. Number 6, your FI number, and whether your current trajectory actually reaches it. Most 35-year-olds, if they are honest, have not calculated any of these. They have approximate feelings about their finances rather than specific numbers. And approximate feelings are how you arrive at 60 in a situation you did not intend, that you cannot fully explain, and that you no longer have enough time to fully reverse. Here is the exercise. Calculate all 6 this week. It will take less than 2 hours. Then identify the one that is furthest from where it needs to be. Not the most interesting one. Not the one you feel most motivated to work on. The one that is furthest off. That is the one you fix first, this quarter, with specific actions and a specific deadline. Then you move to the next. The numbers do not lie. They do not care about your intentions or your plans or your general sense that things are going fine. They just reflect the decisions you have actually made, compounded forward over time. At 35, there is still enough time for the math to work in your favor, but only if you know what the math actually is.